You've unlocked a Roundtable.
Welcome to the Lost Levels Roundtable discussion of The Last Witch Hunter. My name's Chris. With me, as always, is Alex.
Hello.
And we just watched Vin Diesel's latest movie.
We did, indeed.
With our Roundtable discussions, these are going to be non-spoiler at the beginning. And then at the very end of our podcast, we will do a spoiler section so we can get a little bit deeper into the story and a little bit more added to our thoughts, where we can go into a free-for-all type of atmosphere as opposed to a traditional non-spoiler type of review where we can't exactly share everything because we don't want to give away any spoilers.
Correct.
So we are going to start off with, again, the non-spoilers part. And give me a synopsis of this story.
Basically, Vin Diesel is a witch hunter from olden times, and as he's about to slay the queen witch, I guess, she curses him with immortal life. This is after his family was killed and everything, so now he has to kind of wander the earth being alone, and is slaying witches up until modern day, which is where this story starts to pick up. And he has a small following of clergymen almost that help guide him. And then shit starts to go down, and he has to figure out what the new threat is against him.
Yeah, and so basically, the thoughts on Vin Diesel as Colder is his character's name. I was convinced it was Dominic Toretto.
No, he doesn't play that character in every movie, Chris.
But it feels like Vin Diesel plays that character in every movie.
Yes, outside of playing Groot or the Iron Giant. Yes.
I kind of feel like Vin is very Vin.
He is a very kind of one-note actor. Yeah,
like you get everything you know about Vin if you've watched was it Pitch Black or the Chronicles of Riddick?
Yeah. This is Riddick. This is
Dominic.
This is Holden. They're one and the same essentially.
Yeah. So like if you would have had if the next Fast and Furious movie has Dominic Toretto with a broadsword, I would not be surprised.
I would not bat an eyelash.
No, I'm like, okay, you know what? Dom has turned into a witch hunter now.
Yeah, he upgraded his wrench to a broadsword. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I'm also going to take down Jason Statham.
Exactly. Actually,
with the streets.
I do have to give a props out to one of our listeners and actual member of the Lost Level, Aaron Leach. I told him I was going to go watch this movie, and he texted back saying, "How was Vin Helsing?"
And that's good.
I'm like, all right, that's pretty damn witty. Fair enough. And I will give you props on the podcast. So here are your props, Aaron. I am giving you props. Vin Helsing is pretty good. Vin plays Colder, who in modern day times he has a watcher, so to speak, or a handler.
Yes.
A traditional type of thing that you see in any type of kind of like one of these types of movies where there's somebody watching somebody, like a Slayer has a watcher in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In the CIA, they have a watcher, somebody watching over them, or a handler.
Right. Someone just kind of takes care of them and helps them out some of them.
Yeah,
some of their tasks.
Surprisingly played by Michael Caine.
Yeah, I did not know much going in this movie, but when I saw Michael Caine, I was very pleasantly surprised.
I did not know he was in this movie either. And then he plays Dolan the 36th. I guess everybody who is a protector or watcher of Colder is named Dolan. So he's the 36th.
I assumed
Dolan.
It was like a title almost.
Oh, is it a title?
I assumed it was a title.
I don't know. Well, whatever. So he's the 36th Dolan title person with that name. And I was just surprised, like him taking back, because it's Michael Caine. You love Michael Caine.
It's like, this is Alfred.
Yeah, right. So we have Alfred and Dominic Toretto in the same movie. Very similar to their previous roles, I guess. I don't know. He's at the end of his time. He's ready to hand off the mantle and to move on to Another person that you immediately recognize, Dolan the 37th, played by Elijah Wood.
Right. I knew he was in this one, so I was like, oh, okay. This seems about right.
I don't know, like, for me personally, he just kind of creeps me out now. The way he looks. I don't know what it is. His huge eyes.
He does have those piercing eyes. And that slight gap in his tooth.
It makes me unsettled. Like, I'm not comfortable with it necessarily.
Okay. I think the only time he ever unsettled me was his role in Sin City.
That's what it is. That's what I'm convinced it is. Like, ever since Sin City, he has bothered me. Because that role was just creepy as shit.
Okay. No, I could see that. But
so anytime I see him now, just him, it takes me out of the movie instantaneously. Like, I could deal with Vin Diesel playing Vin Diesel as a witch hunter. But the second I see Elijah Wood's big eyes, I'm like, oh, shit. I'm out of the movie. Why? I have no freaking idea. It's stupid. I'm fully aware of that.
Okay.
But that's just...
it is stupid. You're correct about that. But
yeah, it's for whatever reason, it is. So those that's Dolan 36th and 37th, and then we meet another person who Vin Diesel as Colder comes across, and that's the girl from Game of Thrones.
Yes. Her name's Chloe in this, right?
It is Chloe. Yes.
What's the actress's name?
Rose Leslie.
Rose Leslie. Okay, yeah. She plays the redhead wildling that had relations with Jon Snow.
Yes, the one you don't know. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yes, her.
That girl.
Yes.
Yes, very adorable.
Very adorable, especially in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice seeing her outside of something other than animal pelts.
I think Alex had a crush.
Oh, instant crush. She's like an awesome Irish Emma Stone.
Yeah, she was adorable in this movie, and she had a little bit to do. I'm not saying that like her character was awesome. The writing was not supportive of her giving an Oscar award performance by any means.
No,
but she did the part very serviceably. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? What do you guys think about? Or what do you think of the acting in this?
Vin does Vin. Like you can't expect much from Vin at this point. You know, his best roles to date are Groot, where he always says I am Groot, and the Iron Giant, which is also a very dialogue light role.
Right.
And you know, him being in talks to be Black Bolt for Marvel's upcoming Inhumans, a character that does not speak at all, sounds goddamn perfect. So, I mean, like I said, Vin just kind of does Vin. His delivery is dry in a sense that he wants to be witty and charming, but there's not much depth to it.
There is no depth to it, but that's why I love him. That's the craziness of it. I love Vin because of obviously my love for Fast and Furious franchise. As you're just looking down at the table, like, oh God, he's going to talk about it.
No, I knew it was coming up.
Yes, I do enjoy him as Triple X, and
oh shit, dude, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's just it's Vin Diesel, man. Like I fully accept the fact that I'm going to get the same exact performance no matter what he plays. I'm getting Vin, and that's the whole reason I made you go watch this movie. You know, I used Lost Level Review as a front. In reality, it's
really, you just want to have.
It's a Vin movie.
Yeah, and you're trying to indoctrinate me to the cult of Vin.
The Vinsanity.
Fuck you. That's awful, and yes.
But yeah, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine. So I enjoy watching Vin doing shit, and like, you know what, Vin as a witch hunter, done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the other roles like Chloe. Yeah, she does a good job. I mean, not much of a role there. Not incredibly deep character, but I feel like she did what she could with the role.
Yeah.
And you know, she did give that person a lot of character,
mm-hmm.
and very animated and brought some sincerity to the role, so I do give her commendation for that.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think of the story?
Like here, okay, it's hard for me when it comes to talking about anything fantasy based.
Okay.
I kind of have the same issue with sci-fi, but not as bad because there is a lot more stuff to ground in reality when it comes to sci-fi. But when it comes to fantasy, like nothing is sacred. Like anything can go because there are essentially no rules to magic, and it's really hard to judge a story and the plot beats and how ham-fisted or wherever they may be when it comes to a genre where there are practically no bounds in what can be done.
Okay.
So you kind of have to separate yourself from that fact and the fact that there are basically no facts. And so at this point it becomes a very character-driven thing you have to look at. And in this movie, in that regards, a lot of it just I did not follow in terms of character development. It was weird and just did not flow right, and just the motivations of the characters didn't always seem genuine.
Was this the problem? Because when we were walking out of the theater, you mentioned something about the fantasy genre, and you said something about Seventh Son.
Well, with Seventh Son, I jokingly talked about Seventh Son and saying hopefully it's not as bad as that. That was beforehand. But I mean, Seventh Son had the same issue and with a lot of fantasy, which is fantasy, there are so little bounds to what can happen, and it's hard to judge it in a practical matter on that.
So you can have like a Deus Ex Machina design to something, and
yes,
because
to any situation, and it's just like, oh, it's magic. Burr, 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 burr.
Did they do that in this movie?
I think that was one of Vin's lines. I can't be mistaken.
I would have loved to see him deliver that line.
It is like an incantation he said or something. I don't know.
That would have been absolutely amazing, and he would have kept on fucking it up, and like after the 80th take, the director's like, "Fuck it."
And so that's where. So I try not to let the idea of the fantasy realm and the seamless, boundless nature it has to judge my interpretation or my view of the plot. So like I said, I kind of have to look at a character's perspective, and I feel like, and just a perspective of logic, like real ass logic that can't be interrupted by magic. And I felt there were flaws in that, which I will definitely hit on once we hit the spoiler section.
Okay.
But
I want to hear this. I can't wait for the spoiler section now.
yeah.
But okay, is it okay for this movie in particular, where Seventh Son was set in that era, but now you have a fantasy movie who you see originally in that timeline, but now it fast forwards into our timeline. Right. Does that bother you or just
No, honestly, that's kind of something I like. I like seeing the idea of magic in modern days. I think it's a cool concept that I would like to see more of. I mean, just like in the scenes where he goes into like these tiny bars or clubs that are exclusive to witches and things like that, it gave me a very Blade vibe, where there's this whole underground that he is aware of and very few people know about, and it gave me that vibe, which I actually quite enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate it from that aspect. I like seeing these concepts in which we're used to seeing in an older set piece to something more modernized.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it in that regard.
Nice. All right, so visual effects. Something that because of magic and everything like that. What'd you think about these?
Visual effects were good. I mean, there was nothing I thought that was super outstanding or astonishing, but I didn't look at anything going, oh, that's totally green screen. That looks awful. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of green screen in this, but it wasn't nothing stood out painfully so that was green screened.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. So overall thoughts before we go into the spoiler section. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about in this section before we go into the spoilers? Because I don't really have too much to say. We kind of touched on everything that I wanted to touch on. Obviously, my love for Vin.
Right. That's the only reason why you're doing this episode is because you just want to give more props to Vin.
Dude, Vin carries a fire sword. A sword on fire. Badass.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I will give you that. That's pretty badass, but...
Stabbing witches with fire sword? Yes.
Okay. No, I think that's we cover everything we can pre-spoilers. So, in terms of this movie, it is an interesting concept, which I enjoy the concept. I would like to see a concept like this fleshed out in a much better manner, but I feel like that's not strong enough for it to support the movie on its own, and unfortunately, the plot, which kind of makes very little logical sense in terms of character development and motivation. It just doesn't really quite work as a movie. So this is a movie that you could skip it. Like, I don't think you have to watch it.
That's Vinsane.
Fuck you again.
Okay. In terms of story, I agree. I think that this movie does not do anything that doesn't separate it from a direct-to-video type of movie. But you can tell when they were making this movie, or had the idea or the concept of it, and they pitched it to Vin, it feels like this is kind of like an origin, and it opens the gates to a potential series. Because I think that this movie was filmed with a potential series in mind, trying to make this a franchise for Vin as the last witch hunter and establishing it that way.
I want to say that I saw an article earlier today about Vin talking about where he sees the series going.
Yeah, see, I honestly think I have full like when I'm convinced that that's how they pitched it to Vin in order to do this movie. But yeah, I think that Vin unfortunately can't play much more than what he played as in movies that we've seen, Riddick, Dominic Toretto, even his character in Triple X, which I can't think of the name right now, but it was an amazing character name. He can't play much more than that, and it's unfortunate. I love him. I will watch the movies that he's in.
You will bring me to watch the movies that he's in.
Right. Like I just that's him. That's who Vin is, and I don't see this being much more than a B type of movie, unfortunately, where it's not that much better than stuff you see on sci-fi or something like that. The effects are better. There's obviously more money involved, but in terms of story,
right,
there's not. It's just not there, unfortunately. Nope. So I would also kind of be interested, because I've watched this movie now, to see if they do make a sequel and see where they kind of take the character and see what more they can try to do with it. But if this is just a standalone, it doesn't succeed, I'm also okay with walking away from the franchise knowing that I saw it. So yeah, I would pretty much skip this and maybe check it out on a rental if you're bored one day.
Okay.
Alex, how can we reach you?
Oh, you can follow me on Twitter. My name there is Alex Sandberg, AlexSanberg, or you can email me directly at the website, alex@lostlevel.com. And what about you, Chris?
Twitter, I'm at Calm Intensity. I also have an Instagram. It's Chris's Calm. All of our contact information is on lostlevel.com, as well as all of our social media links. In the upper right-hand corner, you have links to our Twitter page. You have links to Facebook, iTunes, and our YouTube page, which we've been updating on a regular basis, and tried to add exclusive content to that. So definitely subscribe to that. On iTunes, give us some stars. We'd really appreciate that, so we can increase our fan base. So pretty much everything is on lostlevel.com. Talk to you guys soon, and again, stay on for the spoiler section.
Okay, spoilers.
Spoilers!
What the fuck? was up.
My favorite start to our spoilers is whenever one of us says, "What the fuck?"
It's usually me. What the fuck was up with the sudden turn and betrayal that Elijah Wood's character had?
They wanted to put a twist into the movie.
Okay, when you put a twist in the movie, it should be a twist that makes any sort of sense and has any sort of indication that it's going to happen and stuff that leads up to that twist.
Like foreshadowing, you mean?
Yeah. And, plot points that wouldn't make that twist completely fucking stupid.
Well, the problem with the twist is, yeah, you're right, it comes out of left field, but because Elijah Wood doesn't have that much screen time and you don't have enough character development there, that the twist doesn't fucking matter.
Oh, not at all.
There's no...
We had no investment in this character.
You have no investment in the character. You like Michael Caine more.
Yes, because it's fucking Michael Caine.
You like Michael Caine, so you don't give a shit about Elijah Wood to begin with.
Right.
So the fact that he betrays him, like, yeah, we see that. Like, that's fine. It's like, we accept it because that's what is a typical Hollywood trope.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because the story demanded it to be a cool twist.
No.
It's just like, nope, we need to put something in
And
to make
not
it
only did the story not demand it, the story totally negates that being a theme, or that twist negates a huge part of the story, i.e. being Elijah Wood is basically at this point working for the witches and trying to help them out.
Right.
So if that was the case, and he had knowledge of where the witch queen's heart is, there would have been no point in them attacking and torturing Michael Caine's character and putting him in this vegetative state, this cursed state, to get that information when they could.
They didn't know where it was. That's why they had to find out from, because like Michael Caine discovered where it was, and he was going to tell Vin. Oh wait, no,
because the whole crew, whole society,
right. The whole society knew where it was.
They were holding that information. Michael Caine's character was just going to tell him. So Elijah Wood already had knowledge. That's why Vin was angry at Elijah. He's like, you knew this information, you didn't fucking tell me. What's wrong with you? Right. And he said, well, I'm sorry, I can't betray the order like that. So Elijah Wood knew. And so if he was in fact working for the witches, as is revealed in the quote-unquote twists,
mm-hmm.
you feel like he would have been in contact with someone of the witch underground to let them know, hey, I'm standing to hold this information and tell you where it is.
Right.
Don't do anything to Michael Caine. I will get you this heart. Like, it's cool.
Right.
So, that takes out a huge chunk of the plot that was not necessary and just made no sense. Which makes that twist just even more fucking infuriating. Because there's no foreshadowing. It's for a character we didn't give a shit about, and it just makes the story fall apart at that point.
Because it's a Hollywood trope.
Yeah.
They need to put something in there to make it more interesting. Or if they feel that is more interesting. Not that it necessarily is more interesting. It would have been more if the girl betrayed Vin. Because at least she was a witch, an established witch.
Right. Instead of Elijah Wood just having witch parents, but he had no powers of a witch, which I don't understand how that happens. Granted, I don't know witch genetics. I didn't study that in fucking college. But, like...
Apparently it happens. He's like the albino witch.
Yeah.
There's just that genetic...
It's a genetic mutation or something.
So, I agree with you. I think that was definitely one of the dumb things about this movie.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I really want to get off my chest. Now that I got that off my chest, I don't know what else I really want to touch on. Like, I think, once again, it's just going into what is plausible with magic or not and what's revealed. It's, Vin is trying to get these plants and shit so that he can go into a dream state to discover what happened when he was cursed with the gift of eternal life or whatever, and the events that unfold from there to help reveal that, the heart is still keeping him alive.
You know what? I kind of liked the idea, I'll be honest, with him getting the immortality, but the witch using it as holder, as opposed to like cursing him with it.
That was a clever twist, and that it was a smart twist as opposed to the Elijah Wood one. I was fine with that. My issue, what I was building up to was, he needed to fall asleep and get in this dream state.
Right.
And then it's telling you, oh, Chloe's character has this ability. And it's just kind of like...
Well, it's convenient.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It is a matter of making a convenient plot point.
I mean, how many times in movies do you see convenient plot points? I mean,
Right. It happens often.
It's a given at some points. Like, all right, we have 90 minutes to get these characters from point A to point B. There's going to be times in this episode or this story where it's just going to be a convenience more than anything.
And it's at least it's something that they did revisit later in a way that she was able to help Vin Diesel's character when she went into the mind of that the weak link of the whole hive mind of witches that were captured.
And she actually had a character arc too, where before she had to use special things in order for her to dreamwalk, but Vin teaches her that she doesn't need to do that because that she has a special power that enables her to do it without that special stuff, which is cool.
Yeah,
there's cool elements in here.
There are. I will totally give it that, but there's just some glaring flaws when it comes to the plot that it totally negates everything cool from it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been definitely cooler fantasy ideas out there, but overall, I like I said in the original summation of everything, it's not that much higher than a B-roll type of movie script. It's maybe a little bit more sophisticated, but at the same time, not really. It's
just something with a bigger budget, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's really all it is. And you have some stars in it, and we liked Chloe, and I want her to break out, and I want her to be in a lot more things.
You'll see her in a lot of things, I think.
So we'll see, but she did a good job in this. Vin Diesel was Vin.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll definitely see now that Michael Caine is back from his resurrected from his death.
Yeah.
Now he will be able to carry on the mantle as Dolan again and help him out.
Does that mean he's joining the 38th now, or is he just going back to the 36th?
Well, there are no more Dolans because they've separated themselves from the...
And that community basically got destroyed and a lot of them killed off.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.